On a lake in Missouri, on a July evening in 2018, a tour boat went under. 31 people were aboard, 17 of them died. 19 years earlier, the same board had investigated the same kind of boat, sinking the same way, and had written down what needed to change. Most of the passengers and the operator were trapped by the vehicle's canopy roof and drawn underwater. That sentence was written in 2002. This film is about what happened to it. The boat was an original duck, built in 1944 as a military landing craft, and later stretched and rebuilt for tourists. The letters are a factory code. D for the year of design, U for utility, K for all-wheel drive, W for dual-powered rear axles. More than 7 hours before the accident, the National Weather Service issued a severe thunderstorm watch for the area. At 6:32 in the evening, that watch became a warning. It covered the lake, it ran until 7:30, and it forecast gusts of 60 miles an hour. The warning was issued 1 minute before the boat left the boarding facility. 29 passengers boarded. 3 other boats from the same company also began waterborne tour after the warning. One of them entered the lake about 2 minutes ahead. Keep that boat in mind, it comes back later. About 5 minutes after the boat entered the water, the leading edge of a storm front passed through. A derecho, a single band of storms that travels in a straight line and does not let up. Waves were reported at 3 to 5 feet. The highest gust recorded was 73 miles an hour. Water came over the bow. It went in through an air intake hatch that was not weathertight. The stern went under first, about 250 feet from the exit ramp. A crew member on the showboat moored nearby described it to investigators. It took maybe 10 seconds. The passenger compartment was enclosed by a fixed canopy, with a metal frame and clear vinyl curtains along the sides. One side curtain was released as the boat went down. The other was found closed. 14 of the 31 people aboard survived. So why was nothing done in 19 years? Between 1999 and 2017, the board issued 22 safety recommendations about these vessels. 9 of them got responses that complied with met or exceeded what was asked. 4 were still pending, an action plan not yet done. For the other 9, the recipient either disagreed with the recommendation or otherwise did not plan to satisfy it. This is the table. It is on page 41 of the report. 5 of those recommendations were issued nearly 2 decades ago in response to the sinking of the Miss Majestic. Nearly all the recommendations issued after that accident were classified closed, unacceptable action. The 2 that mattered most asked for reserve buoyancy, for these boats to be built so that they float even when they flood. One of those was closed because almost half of the 30 operators it was addressed to never answered it at all. Nothing in that process is hidden. Every step of it is public, and every step of it is normal. Now the part the recommendations were about. These vessels were built with a low freeboard, an open hull, and no subdivision or flotation. Subdivision means dividing the hull into watertight compartments, so that water getting into one of them does not reach the others. Without it and without built-in flotation, there is nothing holding the boat up once the hull fills. That is what reserve buoyancy means. On this boat, the water came in at the bow, through a hatch and an air intake that were never designed to be weathertight. Remember the other boat? It was in the same storm on the same lake at the same time. It got out. Investigators put that down to more freeboard, greater reserve buoyancy, and a bow hatch that could be secured. And the board said it plainly about the boat that sank. With sufficient reserve buoyancy through passive means, the stretch Duck 7 likely would not have sunk. The second half is not about sinking, it is about getting out. The canopy is fixed, it has a frame, the curtains close along both sides. A boat going down by the stern turns that into a ceiling. The closed starboard side curtain impeded escape and likely resulted in additional fatalities. The board went further. Putting on a life jacket under that canopy would itself have raised the risk of being trapped. In 1999, the Miss Majestic sank about 7 minutes after entering the lake, in 60 feet of water. Of the 21 people on board, 13 died, including 3 children. One passenger got out before it submerged. 6 more and the operator escaped on the way down. Here is the probable cause of the 2018 sinking. In the board's words, continued operation of waterborne tour after a severe thunderstorm warning was issued, exposing the vessel to a derecho, which resulted in waves flooding through a non-weathertight air intake hatch on the bow. Contributing to the sinking, the Coast Guard's failure to require sufficient reserve buoyancy in amphibious vessels. Contributing to the loss of life, ineffective action on emergency escape from vessels with fixed canopies. One thing about this document needs saying out loud, because it is easy to read it wrong. The board does not assign fault or blame. Its investigations are fact-finding proceedings with no formal issues and no adverse parties. By law, no part of this report may be used as evidence in a lawsuit for damages. It exists to prevent the next accident, not to settle this one. In November 2019, while this investigation was still open, the board issued the buoyancy recommendation again. We have made 2 films about ships that went over. One failed because a man typed a wrong number. One failed because the number in the book was wrong. This one is different again. Nobody was missing the information. A recommendation is a sentence that only becomes real when somebody with authority decides to act on it. 17 people died on a lake in Missouri. The paperwork that would have kept them alive had been written and filed 19 years before.